legitimate, but they worked out some kind of a deal where um, I think Greyhound kept most of the paper on it, and these guys probably put down a substantial amount of it. It was their first opportunity that they were going to break the union and get the unions out is what they were going to do.
Oh, okay, okay.
Which they did. They broke the unions and got the unions out. At least the baggage clerks, the ticket clerks, and the janitors. The drivers, they never did break that union. They left them there. So the drivers were still belonged to the union and everything. So it took a period of about, I want to say about 6 weeks. They closed it down, and then they didn't run any buses for 6 weeks, and then they converted everything over to non-union employees, except for the bus drivers. And then a lot of the bus drivers supported the union. They didn't come back to work. A lot of them did come back to work, but there again, it was a struggle because once you close something down for 6 weeks, it took a while to get everything back up running again. And one of the biggest problems that I felt wrong with it was, because I was right in the middle of it, was the fact that Greyhound had a huge package express business, because you didn't have FedEx, you didn't have, you had.
Right, yeah, no, I remember going in the back of the depot, and that's how we got the BB gun, that backpack, and there was all that stuff left over. You ran your courier business out of there. What year was all that happening where those three guys did that with Greyhound? Do you remember?
Let's see, it was just before 88. I went elk hunting in 88, so I think it was like 87.
Oh, okay. So I was alive and conscious, at least at that time. Yeah. Now, jumping back to a piece of history that I thought was a wonderful piece of history, was you talking about all them buses they were running down south to Oceanside for the Marine Corps during Vietnam.
Oh, that was.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was in. That was right after I went to work for Greyhound in '57. I went to. No, 60, I got out 61, so that was probably 60, 66, 67, 68. You had Long Beach Harbor, you had Camp Pendleton, and you had San Diego. And all of those were huge military bases. You don't think about Long Beach Harbor now because it's not a military base, but back then it was a huge Navy base at the time. So what would happen, people would come to Los Angeles and for partying because Hollywood was there, and it was just, there was no drugs or anything at that point. I mean, I'm sure there was probably drugs, but I didn't know a lot about the drugs. But there was a lot of drinking and a lot of parties and stuff. And so these guys would get these young Marines and these young Navy guys and everything and say, hey, you want to go to a party? We're going to party out here in Hollywood Hills or something. They got movie stars, all blah, blah. Well, a lot of them were gay guys too, just trying to sucker in the young guys. They go to parties where these gay guys were always was there, So what would happen, all of these people, when they get liberty on Friday, they would all head for Southern California, Los Angeles, in that area down there, because you have all the motels and hotels and, all your theaters and everything. It would be like New York City, like Manhattan would be, if you was back on the East Coast there and everything. So what would happen was, it was just a round robin, because you could make the whole loop under 10 hours. And even then, because we didn't have, Interstate 5 was not wide open at that time. It was the only place it was open was between Oceanside and San Clemente. It was the rest of the time it was on the beachfronts and everything. So, well, you would over a period of Friday night, all Friday night, and maybe early Saturday morning and everything. Here's all these buses bringing all these Navy and Marines, and I don't think we had too many Army guys. I don't know of any Army bases around or anything.
Because that was further out, Fort Ord and whatnot.
I don't know. We didn't. It was just mostly Navy and Marines. And so then when it comes Sunday, it gets time for Sunday to go. Everybody's got to go back to the base because they got to be back to the base by 10 o'clock Sunday night or something, whatever curfew was on for one. So, well, we would come in. You would come in from like, well, for example, Fresno to Los Angeles, or San Luis Obispo to Los Angeles, or Las Vegas to, to LA. Well, when you'd get there, you'd always, no matter where you came from, you always had 2 or 3 hours. Well, you could drive to Oceanside or San Clemente, in an hour and a half, and San Diego in 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And so what would happen was that was in the old terminal there, and they would have buses just lined up all the way around the block. And what would happen, they would just pull them up there, and they'd put, however many there was. We didn't stand them. Everybody had to have a seat, because they were just going to go to San Clemente or they were going to go to Oceanside.
Right, this wasn't a Navy bus where you'd stand them. This was an actual business. Yeah.
So we'd just fill that sucker up. As soon as it was full, bang, it sent him down the road. And he'd see maybe number 31 sections on this one schedule. Say it was supposed to leave at 5 o'clock Sunday night to head back down to San Diego. Well, maybe there's 31 buses just on this one schedule that was going down there and everything, And of course, everybody's trying to get a seat, and your double-decker scenic cruisers had come out just before that. They came out in the 50s, and so they had really good air conditioning, and the others didn't. The others didn't have very good air conditioning, so people, especially the ones in uniforms, they wanted to be cool, So it was amazing. I mean, you see thousands and thousands of GIs, Marines there, just waiting in line, just very patiently waiting in line to get on a bus to go back to San Clemente and Oceanside, And the shore patrol was, they were walking around there, but they never caused any problems because most of these guys were going home. Most of them were hungover, or broke or whatever.
Shore patrol.
Remember
when you were in shore patrol in Japan, and those two drunk Samoans came on base?
Yeah.
How about you tell me that story? I love that story.
When your ship, every time a ship comes into the harbor, because Yokosuka, Japan is a big harbor. It'll take a lot of ships. Well, the deal is that the shore patrol, you will have to provide every night. You will have to provide at least, I guess it was 1 or 2, I'm not sure.
You had the OOD and you had the AOOD or whatever. So you had the officer on duty and the assistant officer on duty. But since you were a small, weather ship, you probably had enlisted guys doing that.
And so you had to be an E5 or above, and then you went out with a regular Navy shore patrolman,
Oh, yeah.
Or an MP.
Yeah.
So when my turn came, because we were there 2 weeks in dry dock, and then when my turn came, because we didn't have that many second class on there, so when my turn came and everything, they just give you a brassiere and you put it on, and they give you the belt with they didn't give you a gun. They didn't give me a gun. They just had a billy club, So you go down there, Shanker Alley down there, and all it is just bars on both sides of the deal, and whorehouses and everything all the way up and down there, and